And as I was reading, there were a lot of so many things that I would love to mention every time I speak and every time I talk about Dharma. Importance of a Dharma teacher, a guru, a lama, on this path, and importance of compassion, and importance of so many other things. But above all is importance of requesting teaching and actually teaching Mahayana Dharma. It is a great honor, and it is a not just an honor, not just something to be inspired by or something to be proud of, but it is for someone like me the ultimate purification and accumulation. And I really do hope to reach awakening mainly through teaching, through the merit of teaching and making Dharma available. And if the words of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas are to be taken as valid, that should work, that must work. So, yes, I thank Karmajal Sinling for organizing this, and the translators Aryatni and Shashi for volunteering this, and for this to happen. From a very self-oriented point of view, it really gives me, it makes me do things, it makes me use my time that otherwise could have been wasted. Can you guys hear me? Ariadne, can you do this or not? Okay. I don't know. Internet is really good. I checked. So I don't know what it is. How about now? Yeah? Okay. Iffy, can you hear? Okay. Now, I do not know if you have already studied this text before or not. Anyway, this kind of text, the sutra part, the sutra teachings, or tantra, dharma in general, it's not like how we study something. When we try to study something, when we try to read a book or a novel or something for information, we do not necessarily have to read again. The moment we have comprehended the subject matter, that's enough. Dharma is not like that. Contemplation is when you are thinking about something, when your mind is being applied to something, you're contemplating, you're meditating, and that is done through hearing. So sometimes you hear such a thing from people. Oh, I have already studied the text, or I've already listened to that once or twice, so as if that is enough. It's not. If you are not awakened, it's not enough. Best kind of teacher is the Buddha, completely awakened teacher. Maybe from in front of a Buddha, you need to hear things only once, because that would be enough for you. While listening, you will be liberated. And what need is there to hear more, to be repeated? If not, even then, even Buddha as a teacher, if you would read the Prajnaparamita Sutras, he would repeat things for hundreds of pages, to be honest. He would repeat 4 or 5 pages 20, 30, 40, 50 times, again and again and again, because that's what is needed for the listener. Most of the Prajnaparamita teachings were taught to, of course, to all kinds of beings, but there were a large assembly of Nagas and these non-humans present there, and they really needed things to be repeated again and again so that they will understand, they will comprehend. So that's what Buddha did. And so it is the case here. When it is in this case right now, I am not such a glorious speaker, neither are you such a glorious listener. Maybe you are, but not in this regard. And so we really need to hear this hundreds, thousands of times for many lifetimes. You never know when it will work. It will work one day. It has to. The moment you have taken refuge, the moment you have taken bodhicitta, you will gain full awakening. Now, when is the question? Time it will take, that is in question. All the path of bodhisattvas, all the practices that you hear, 6 paramitas, all the strengths like the 10 strengths, or the bhumis like the 10 bhumis in wisdom and compassion and skillful means, all of that you will have to go through. There is no other way. Whether you are on the Mahayana path or Vajrayana path, you have to pass through these path. And so it's good. It's good that you have decided to listen to this. Now, as you know, we have started this program actually some time ago, and we're already in the 6th chapter. But we have decided to sort of let new people join this program. And so for the next couple of sessions, we will be doing what is basically a review of all the previous chapters and all the stanzas that we have covered. And also I will give a oral transmission, because those of you who attended until the 6th chapter, you have received it, because every time I read it, once in English and once in Tibetan, but the new ones have not. This text truly is the backbone of Mahayana Dharma. Of course, we say that about so many other different texts, but this really is. And however you look, based on the contents of this text, the way of the wordings, or the author, the time, the account, how this text was composed, and however you look, it is nothing short of a miracle. So our author is Shantideva. one of the most mesmerizing figure in Indian Buddhism. When the Tibetan masters, they were deciding upon who amongst all the Indian teachers are the most important ones, most illustrious ones. Though obviously they had to count Asanga for having started, for having received teachings from Maitriyanath, Arya Maitreya, and having started a school basically of Yogacharya. And they added Nagarjuna because he's obviously started the Madhyamika school and was quite phenomenal, quite important in the revival of Mahayana Dharma. So these two. And then there were others who were important in regards to Abhidharma or Pramana or Vinaya, like that. And then the Tibetan masters added 2 teachers, not because they started something new or not because they were like necessarily like revolutionary, that it did something no one else did before them, but because they were so unique. Their approach, the whole being, just the charisma of their names, it commanded so much respect, veneration, trust among yogis and yoginis throughout Mahayana countries. They had to add their names into what is known as 8 most illustrious Indian teachers. And one is Shantideva and the other one is Chandragami. And these two, both of them are very unique. Shantideva is of course from Madhyamika side, and Chandragami, the great Chandragami, is from Chittamatra Yogacharya side. You should try to know these people. Chandragami is a very special person. These two were added for their humility, for their sincerity, and especially Shantideva. You can say he revolutionized how to compose shastras. If you read other shastras or from any other Indian teacher, it will be, how to say, wonderful, of course, beautiful wordings, everything, but it's also quite restrained according to the rules of poetry, and they use a lot of what we call munju. These are very like a poetry language basically. Shantideva does not do that. His way of poetry is as if someone is speaking to you. It's direct, so more sincere. And somehow, even to this day, even to non-Buddhists in India, ways of Bodhisattva is known as one of the best ancient poetry of India. I actually saw a dance, a Bharatnatyam, like Indian traditional dance that was based on the stanzas of ways of Bodhisattva in the 2nd chapter. That was quite amazing. I believe You also received the links to the previous sessions that we have already had. And I hope you can go through them. And yeah, I have gone through the biography of Chandrakirti. This is important for us because we want the work to be known through the author, not the other way around. We believe in authenticity, believe in blessing, believe in because being ordinary people like me, we get completely carried by words, writings, books and poems, and that is not the way of Dharma. Here, the only objective is awakening of oneself for the sake of others. And for awakening, the most important thing is a teacher who is awakened, who can teach us the path of awakening. And however good or bad their skills may be in language, doesn't matter. If you read some of the instructions of the Kadamba masters, makes no sense almost. Just phrases. If you read 7-point mind training, the root text, it's just full of phrases that hardly make sense. And many Kadamba teachers, they even say things like "Tsigla nyancha mejo tenla shipchachis," even though the words are not, how to say, poetic, but the meaning, Dharma, is profound. So that's what we should seek, like a nourishing food. Most of us are utterly attached to the taste of the food that we forget that that's not the purpose of food, myself included. So here we first try to know who wrote this text. Why should I read this text? Why should I take anything that is written in this text as something worthwhile for me to analyze even? And so we talk about the author. That such was the author. This is how the author lived, for us to then judge. And if you, with the sane mind, read through the life of Shantideva, and there are many. I have till now seen 3 different versions of his biography. Doesn't matter whichever one you read. If you do so with the sane mind, you'll find a true follower of Buddha, a sincere, honest practitioner whose only goal was to liberate beings, to help in any manner possible. We don't even have a proper account of how he passed away. So this text has 10 chapters. So the first chapter is what we will go through today. I think I will first give an oral transmission. Namo lai gedon ludunu jinge dum da me janam dan ro kunji danam chizambar Tamjege do dagi choden do jagar ke do Bodhisattva charya avatar phege do chense bachobale juba sangha de chense matamjala chazala deshi jukunga sejida chayogun la gube jaza de deshi seji domla juba de lungshin dordune ni jobar jam unche majupa indirji me debjir kheba thala yemme de tejir shinde samba thala me rang yelo gumje nged zum gewa gumje thagi tebi chu didage je rechi pejula 다다 가번년 버신지 저지되다 너는 대여주로 덜저드네 녀버신 두가 기부도 루트버줄 발라 갈데들라 펜바 모듬나 시디 양도주로 갈라주로 지다 참은 문남 찌rum나 로주기지 람나탄 바다 대신 상게투이 제르나 지긴 손음도 탄가죠 대대기와 냄진이라다 디바도 신도 미세 버티는 저버 주세메바 게젠가게 지진 넘버 주로 칼파토마 rabgon zeboy tumanam jidi ni pembarse dini tsemeche sonam di dejo de lani de tobarje sibet mu tata shomde di sinjemide semjenmide salbar debata demanja tachubar debede chachu semi tawdo tammecha 장지 심기 좀 느껴지기 그래서라 담배 냠탄함 대신 남지 세지 줘야지 지들 함미집에 찾아를 줄 서치르지 넘버 초다고 미장 리들라니 델베고 린친린 담배 버주비나 장주 심지 저와 랍딩송 제베 테빈치 세멜로 린제버용 소탄 린치비 데네탄 달버 데바나 린제 장주 심렉 템버송 야와신 추칭친드니 데우체네 제버주르바니 장주 심지 준신 따보에 데우진 미세스 펠버드 디바신데 메세찬에 팔라트니 지바참보들 칸라트니 유기 덜주르바 doljuruba tela phachena de chimiten tene tude meji dikchen kejiji tamje sekbarche teni dei pe padme bada changullo de narsanshi changjusim de dordune nambani se chajade changjime besemdene changjuba ninu dobrade da doye chadaji drasche padar teji kebi dini ji chirarbi ji chebar changjime besemdene changjime besemdene kurze de ucheju jidraju besemji de sonam jimcha chungwa min Kani zunde semje kam thayer of the dalbecher midopai semji zu semde andalan juruba tene zunde nilogam bame juja sonam chu jumme cheba tumaje namkhanya barabdu chu dine tebatan chebar lasan chini shubale meme semjen tenji ju deshi cheba niji song semjen namje lenezam salonyam do samna pendo samba tanden de sonam pame danger na semjen re mide padome basadu ju re inde pame do dubarde mejuge pame na maya no sulat de pensemi lada thangson nam ju sambala dietam 심진 대다 니랑은 랑기 텐도 디데스 밀름데 마미나 신지 텐도 갈라지 신다 랑기 텐도야 미중 심진 텐생가 심지를 이제 개발도 나나 메비 매직 총 저와 군지 가비주 심진 동을 쓰르지로 버지 심지 선남가 텔레지드라 샬진나 펜브라삼 삼바 삼지자 상게출레 체파나 심진 멀리 탐지지 데네츠 버메주기 동을들도 심지자 동을 니랑은 버지 대와도 제팀부 랑게 대와도 좀 강지 대외 폰바도 동을 맞는 대달라 대와 군지 심제 버 dungal thamji chue ji timu jang sel je ba thedang gisun khalai thene shejang khalai sonam thedang khalai pendalin de kai ba te re ching ayo na major lek pa che ba hamji sem me ju gi dowa news and message ru ge ji se sem jibra che ba ni ji ni che tang bar che ba ya gewa che ba in sin che we kur sim jin thang thai le thuring de dewar shik de che lan dewar shik de wa lan me ila samba thada zojibe ta do jimba ta shi me ju gi khashik thede ja se jin dal khade ngesem ke bar che ba de ngesem ke be thang jin kalbar nya wa ne bar ju chi tube so wendi khangji ram thang che na thei du thebel habar pe 야세 남노 더갈 신비제 디바 미중 개왕강기별 강게 강나 생지를 치 담바데 제버디 꿀라 차스 강나 네버 제장 데들버 디베 중에 틀라 접수지 전세 비점을 저걸 선수 펜시 비셔 류 당보 The first 3 chapters of this text is dedicated to the generation of bodhicitta. Then the next 3 chapters, this text 4th, 5th, and 6th is dedicated to making sure that the bodhicitta that is generated now will be without obstacles, will not wane basically. And then the next 3 chapters, 7th, 8th, and 9th, is dedicated to now development of that bodhicitta. And then the last chapter is dedication. The first 3 chapters being dedicated to generation of bodhicitta, more specifically the first chapter, entire chapter is nothing but convincing us to take bodhicitta, how and why it is the best idea that you have ever had in your whole existence, to take bodhicitta. That is on a larger scheme, taking bodhicitta once and then not practicing at all for the rest of one's life. Even if we would have such an extreme conduct of negligence, yet somehow your life should be considered successful. We talk about past Buddhas, past Bodhisattvas, as if they were there when we were not there. We were there. We were always there. Maybe we were like birds or insects or hungry ghosts. Who knows? But we were there, all of us. We just never got any opportunity. We just never had a merit to see these people. And even if we saw them, we didn't have merit to believe them. Nothing moved within us. And so we're here. From beginningless of time, we have been here, one way or another. Just don't remember. You can almost say after every life, when we go to a next life, when we transmigrate, it's as if our mind is wiped clean. Just don't remember anything. It's the cruelest thing of samsara. Ignorance. Not knowing. If only we would remember even just a glimpse of our past lives, Dharma practice would become so much more interesting and alive, but we just don't. So in this regard, you can say we have been left behind, so to speak. We were always not invited. Every time a Buddha gave teaching, and they have given teaching countless of times. Do you know there's supposed to have been countless of Buddhas? Countless, not one, not two. Human beings, we are 8 billion on this earth. More than that, more Buddha than that have been, there are, there will be. Countless. And I never become object of liberation, even to one of them. What did I do that I was completely excluded, my karma just... So, but now we're born into fortunate time. This is the fortunate time. Sutra tradition, Vajrayana tradition, maybe not entirely still existing, but still there. Everything that is needed to liberate you and me is still there on this earth, this very earth, where all the dictators and all the war and the famine and unimaginable, horrible, profound suffering is also happening on this very earth. This is what is called a Buddha realm. We are in a Buddha realm. Just did not have enough merit to actually meet Shakyamuni Gautama. But these shastras, these texts, they take us closer to Shakyamuni. They take us closer to Tathagata. Also, this is the true image of Buddha. This is the true kaya of Buddha. Nirmana kaya. This is it. This is the main Nirmanakaya. So the text starts, as you know, outwardly Shantideva was very lazy. He seemed lazy. He was always engrossed in contemplation, deep, profound meditation. So he displayed to be having no interest in cleaning the temples, in serving the Nalanda monastery, even studying, listening. Like when the teachers would teach, it would seem like he's always sleeping. And so, yet the abbot of Nalanda cherished Shantideva, because the abbot knew who he truly was, and that Shantideva was receiving teachings from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Most importantly, Manjushri, day and night, uninterruptedly. This caused jealousy. This caused his fellow monks to scheme a way to get Shantideva kicked out from Nalanda. You might even say that some of them wanted to prank him, make fun of him. And so it was an elaborate scheme. They went to the abbot because they knew that he's not going to agree to teach if they ask him. So they went to the abbot and said, as per tradition, there were special days when all the monks, 10,000 monks would gather, and someone would recite Dharma, give teachings, more like a speech. And this time they wanted Shantideva to do. It was quite clear that their intention was not noble. But the abbot was quite enthusiastic, and the abbot asked Shantideva, why don't you do it? And when abbot asked, Shantideva agreed. And like I said, I'm sure you are familiar with the story, but Shantideva suddenly appeared on the throne. Nobody really saw how he climbed the throne. There was no, they built a very high throne with no stairs to go up. They never meant for him to even start teaching, even to, just to ridicule him. But he suddenly appeared, and no one saw how he got on top of the throne. And he said something like, do you want to hear something that is already taught, or something new? So they were intrigued and said, please teach us something new. Say, And then again he said, he said, he named two different texts. No one have heard of these texts, which were his writing. I see balloons on the screen. I don't know what's happening, but anyway, his Shiksha Samuchaya, okay, and Sutra Samuchaya. And so he said, Sutra Samuchaya is too vast. It's a very thick text. Shiksha Samuchaya is too condensed. So today I will teach Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, that is medium size with everything complete. By this moment, they kind of understood that this man is not ordinary. And then as he started teaching this text, now some teacher argued that this text was not composed on the spot. Rather, Shantideva had already composed this in his mind, and here he was repeating it the way he said Shiksha Samuchaya, Sutra Samuchaya is too vast, Shiksha Samuchaya is too condensed. I will teach ways of Bodhisattva like that. But anyway, nevertheless, whatever the arguments may be, I like to believe that he wrote it on the spot. He sounds like someone who might do that. But anyway, and so as he began to teach this, many masters who were gathered there. So Nalanda used to have 10,000 students and 500 abbots. So 500 abbots ready sort of at all times, so to speak. And of course, there were many great practitioners there. And many of them begin to see Manjushri on top of Shantideva's head, blessing, guiding. Then he started teaching this, he started reciting ways of Bodhisattva. In the 9th chapter, when he reached this stanza, when neither existence, when neither existence nor non-existence remain in front of the mind having no point of reference or no object to grasp, enters into nirvana. It's a really beautiful stanza. And as he said that, he began to levitate. And then his physical form began to go higher, higher, higher. Around the end of 9th chapter, around 10th chapter, he was no longer visible, but they could still hear his voice. And then 10th chapter finished, he was gone. Nothing to hear, no one to see. But in the assembly, there was, like I said, there were 10,000 monks, and many of them were great scholars, and some of them had what we call Mijé Bezung. Mijé Bezung is a dharani of never forgetting anything. It's an ability, let's say. It's an ability you gain through your dharma practice, either through having done a lot of hearing and contemplation. Your mind gains an ability that then you have perfect memory, or through blessing of deities such as Manjushri and Saraswati and so on. Then you, nevertheless, there were many masters gathered there with such ability, and they begin to have issue amongst them. The Kashmiri from North India, Kashmiri Pandits had more than 1,000 stanza, and the Banaras or the central Indian, basically where Nalanda is, right? So they had 1,000 stanza with 10 chapters. That's what we have right now. And so there was this disagreement between them, and also they regretted a lot. They regretted immensely to think that we had such a great being among us, that we, and also they wanted to not only ask for his forgiveness, but also they wanted to know where are those other 2 texts that he mentioned at the beginning before teaching this text. So they wanted to know, because it seemed like he had already composed them, but they wanted to find it. And so after many months, some say 6 months or years, anyway, they finally found him under a tree in deep meditation. And so they asked for forgiveness. First thing they do is to please come back to Nalanda and teach in Nalanda, which he refused. He says, I have no longer any wish to be in Nalanda. And then they asks him about the issue of the length of the text and which one is correct. And he says the central, the scholar from central India, they have it correct. And then they asked about the other 2 texts, and he said, I have hidden them in the beams of my room, in my chamber. If you go, I've written them on with a very small handwriting, and I've hidden them, so you find them there, and he gives the transmission of those texts, and then he himself goes on his way. So he starts with making prostrations to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Then he starts with making a promise that he will finish this text. And what will he say in this text? What will a reader, a disciple find in this text? He makes a promise, a proclamation in the beginning, where he says, Deshik seji domla juba ni lungshin dordune ni jabra chas. Okay. If you have this, the green, the blue one, this is older edition. I like it better somehow. Then there is the red one, newer edition, like the smaller one. I hear that one, wordings are better. According to the second two line of the first stanza, according to tradition, I shall now in brief describe the entrance to the Bodhisattva discipline. So this is it. The entire outline or the summary of this whole text is that the entrance to the Bodhisattva discipline. Entrance to the Bodhisattva discipline. Basically, how to enter the vows of the offsprings of Sugata Bodhisattvas. I will explain them here briefly, according to the teaching of the Buddha, according to Agama, words of the Buddha. I will explain them here. Because if you are to go into sutras, the amount of sort of Bodhisattva conduct that are taught there is just so vast. If we wouldn't have a text like this, or this text, exactly this text, to be honest, if we wouldn't have this text, we would be so lost. Each of us would be practicing fractions of Bodhisattva practices. I think only Shantideva's text really covers it entirely. I dare say even among the Indian masters like Nagarjuna are very view-oriented. But then text that is teaches conduct, somewhat conduct-oriented. But then again, it's not as rich as this for me. Aryadeva is really speaking like a yogi. He starts his text with saying things like, we are born so that we can die, like that, like very much sort of practice oriented, which is amazing, which we really need it. If you read, many of the stanzas of 400 verses are so sharp. It's like something all retreatants all over this world should have, really. They're so good. The logics are sharp, and it's really no pretense whatsoever. There's no space for any. But even then, I must admit that I find this text really something that should be studied first, and then those texts. Anyway, so then he begins the second stanzas, where he's being humble humility. Humility, you can't even be humble anymore. As if time of humility is gone now. You know, if you try to be humble these days, people actually think you don't know. You have no capacity, or you're weak. Traditionally, when teachers teach, they make it a point to say what kind of a horrible practitioner they are, how lazy they are, and how they don't understand anything. They can barely understand the words, and when we hear those, it used to be inspiring. I remember I tried to do that once or twice, and people actually come tell me how you should have more courage. You should like that. The whole concept is lost. It's a time where you say, "I can do this, I can do that." But Shantideva begins by being humble, saying, I have nothing new to say here, nor am I a poet, or a grammarian that like a master grammarian that this text is going to be like something people will study for generations to come. And also, I don't have vast, like, altruistic mind, he says. I don't think this is going to help a lot of people. That's what he's saying. I didn't write it thinking it's going to become very famous and a lot of people are going to benefit from it, he says. Then why did you write it? He says, mainly to make sure that whatever I have learned from my teachers are not forgotten. Mostly so that I will get used to this practice. And he says, and hopefully that I will get used to this practice and my merit will grow a little bit. And he says, if there are someone out there like me, maybe they will benefit them. So like that is being extremely humble. So the point is it's not really a display per se. And it's also not traditional. People seem to think it's traditional. It's really not. To be humble, it's there are things that one way or another we all know is noble qualities, like being kind, regardless of wherever you are. Maybe based on situation, some people might think that it is a weakness, but in the long run, everyone will agree that it is a virtue, it is a great quality. Humility is similar to that. Anyway, now the text itself, first it begins with talking about how difficult it is to gain a human rebirth, how rare. And he forget about human rebirth. Now that's a great result. Even just to have the wish to practice dharma, even just to have an idea, a motivation that's going to generate merit. He says even that is extremely rare, and he likens our mind to how to say, that of a dark night. It is a night time, there's no sun, and it's there's also no moon. Then you might think, what about the stars? Because usually when there's no moon, the stars shine. But it's no. Also, it's cloudy with the dark clouds. So he says, minds are like that. This wish to benefit others, and especially this wish to benefit all, that is extremely rare. And he says, once in a while, Jalamna, once in 100 different situations, once we have such altruistic mind, like a flash of a lightning in such a dark night. However dense the night has been, for that one moment, everything is illuminated. So similar to that. However filthy our mind has been, dirty. Some of us think like that. Oh, my mind is so dirty, aggressive, pathetic, miserable. However, it may be, but once in a while, there are thoughts that elevates everything, that makes everything all right, to be honest, that makes up for everything else, anything. So Shantideva says, this kind of mind, bodhicitta, is like that. Beginningless existence of samsara is like this dark night. And once in a while, you have such a wish to bring benefit to others, to do something that is just and honest and kind. So if you have to compare the amount of negativity, negative influence, is like that of the dark night, and positive influence, opportunity for liberation, is as rare as seeing everything, but for a split second, in a flash of lightning. So in this way, he establishes the rareness of physical form to be able to practice Dharma, and the rareness for mental and mental agility to be able to practice Dharma. Mahayana Dharma on top of that. After having done that, then he insists, because you might think, oh, well, also there are Sravaka, Theravada, all kind of different practices that one can do. Why must we do this? So he says, for countless of aeons, these great munis, sages, he's talking about the Buddha now, these lord of sages, they have one pointedly searched throughout existence and beyond. They have searched for something that's going to bring benefit to beings, that's going to eradicate suffering from beings' lives and existence, their mind. And he said they have found nothing more beneficial than this. There is no place in this world and beyond where they have not looked, where they have not searched. No one has found anything else. So he says, if you are someone who wishes to if you want to remove hundreds of different sufferings of samsara for yourself, and if you want to remove suffering of sentient beings. On top of that, relish, enjoy hundreds and hundreds of different opportunities of happiness. He says, this is it. Just never let go of this bodhicitta. And as you read, you'll find that he compares bodhicitta as bodhicitta and bodhisattva, and not only bodhisattva, but a newborn bodhisattva. Some bodhisattva that's just became bodhisattva, who had no idea how to be bodhisattva, but just based upon the merit of having bodhicitta, how precious that being already has become for this world and beyond. And he likens bodhicitta to that of the elixir of alchemy, the potion of alchemy that can turn ordinary metal into expensive gold, supposedly. So here he says that bodhicitta is something that makes sentient beings who are full of faults physically and mentally, but once bodhicitta enters their mind, it transforms this ordinary being into a fully awakened one. And it's just like basically nothing short of a miracle, that is. Not only that, bodhicitta, he praises bodhicitta to be the supreme cause of purification. If you are someone, which you are, if you are an ordinary being, if you are someone who has a lot to purify, a lot of negative karma, obscurations to purify, he says, bodhicitta is the supreme. There is nothing like bodhicitta. It is almost like, and he gives this example. He says, it's like if you have harmed someone powerful, someone strong, and there is danger of retaliation. But if you have if you have a bodyguard that is feared, that is well known to be strong and cunning and capable, no one will even dare to touch you. You will roam the streets without any fear. Similarly, we have causes to be reborn in lower realms. But as long as you do not forget bodhicitta, as long as you have bodhicitta, you will not take rebirth in lower realms, especially the hell realms and hungry ghosts. It does not mean you're absolved from your negative karma. It doesn't mean a negative karma has been purified. It just means that they have been made to be very weak. And then he gives, so this is he's talking about the relative bodhicitta, and then he says, he talks about the ultimate bodhicitta, saying, just as at the end of this world, like the final fire burns everything, and all material of this world will be dispersed throughout space. That much potent is the sort of supposedly the fire, the final fire that will burn our world. So he likens that to bodhicitta again, and saying, just as the final fire burns everything and nothing remains, similarly bodhicitta burns all negative karma, all obscurations, nothing remains. And this is likened to the ultimate bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness of bodhisattvas. Here he also talks about two types of bodhicitta, and these are based relative bodhicitta. The ultimate bodhicitta will be taught mainly in the 9th chapter. So until then, we'll be talking about relative bodhicitta. And in the relative bodhicitta, just like we have the wish to go and then the actual act of going somewhere, this is what Shantideva says here if you read. Also, we have this wish to gain awakening for the sake of being, and then actually practicing for that purpose. There are a lot of discussions about what these two are. Almost all schools have their own way of describing these two bodhicitta, so I leave you to that. I have actually made a short video for session just discussing this, because being trained into the such a school, we have our narration of how these two bodhicitta are, their definitions. Are they one? Are they separate? Are they and also, if you're reading Khenpo Kunzang Palden's commentary, he mostly sides with the great Longchenpa's version, or his explanation of how these two bodhicitta are and so on, which is actually quite similar to that of the Sakyapas. And then there were teachers who said all the practices while you are an ordinary person is aspiration bodhicitta. All the practices when you reach bhumi is ultimate, application bodhicitta. Like there are this kind of descriptions too. These are just names, At the end of the day, rather than thinking, oh, this teacher is correct and that is not, you should remember that these are just labels. And if you change the meanings, you can give it to any object, phenomena. So to be honest, none of these teachers are correct or mistaken. They have their own system of explaining, and that's okay. But to be really honest with Shantideva, then the aspiration bodhicitta is not a real bodhicitta that you see here, that we talk about. Application becomes the real vow, taking of bodhicitta. Then all the practices, and then is application bodhicitta. Somehow no one says that, so we're all obsessed with explaining Indian texts according to Tibetan teachers. It should be the other way around. Well, yes, so if you are interested, I actually tried to analyze it in a separate video, but so the reason why I said that according to Shantideva, aspiration bodhicitta is not real bodhicitta, only the application bodhicitta is. He says, means. Let me find your translation. I think, this may be quite important for you. If you are a practitioner, maybe really no need to. But I think some of you should know this. If none of us know this, we are in trouble. But maybe not all of us have to know, but I don't know. Right. I'm talking about, by the way, 15th stanza, bodhicitta in intention and active bodhicitta, practical engagement. Fancy words. So, 17th stanza, that's where you find Shantideva's idea about what is application bodhicitta and aspiration bodhicitta. Okay, the reason why I said that I am not depending on any Tibetan source is because we Tibetans have one habit. This would be interesting for you to know. We want all of these Indian teachers to blend into one system. You understand? And so what Shantideva said must accord with Chandrakirti, Nagarjuna, and they all should sort of, for our, maybe it's good for our practice or our way of understanding things. But they were not one people. They were different people. Even though they all followed Mahayana and the Madhyamika path, they were very different. And they might also say different things. They might also believe different things when it comes to relative truth. What Sakyabhas did here is actually really, really smart. I'm not going to go through that. I don't want to give it to you, but I want you to read what Shantideva said. Where he said, it's very clear. He said, aspiration bodhicitta is great, but its result is only in samsara, says, and is limited. Whereas application bodhicitta has a merit that is continuous. Here is the translation, 17th stanza. Yeah? Bodhicitta in intention bears rich fruit, but those still wandering, for those still wandering in samsara, and yet a ceaseless stream of merit does not flow from it, for this will rise alone from active bodhicitta. Sakyappa's claim, aspiration bodhicitta, application bodhicitta are one. Nyingmapas also claim aspiration bodhicitta, application bodhicitta are one. They can, when they explain it according to their own way. But if you look at Shantideva, I don't think it's correct to insist that Shantideva should also mean it as the Sakyappas and Nyingma. That will not be correct, because Shantideva says they have two different results. One thing cannot have two different results. Two different results in this regard is two different main results, and one can cause that, the other cannot. They cannot be one thing, one same thing. I'm saying this, and my argument will make sense to you if you read a little bit into Khenpo Kunzang Padden's arguments, and he gives arguments, which is really, really good. You should read it. But here we're trying to just be honest with Shantideva to our best abilities. I mean, we are insects, to be honest, compared to them. But if we try that, then he doesn't seem to say that they are one. Never once. The whole 1000 stanza, application, aspiration, bodhicitta. And according to him, it even sounds like aspiration bodhicitta is when before taking vow, you have this wish, oh, I wish I could become Buddha. I'm going to take the vow. You know, you see suffering beings and you have the wish to bring them benefit. That's not bodhicitta necessarily if you do not take the vow, but that is, that's not bodhicitta vow, but that is bodhicitta here. According to him, is aspiration bodhicitta. You're aspiring. That makes sense. But anyway, I wanted to point that out. The rest, to be honest, forget about these arguments. The most important thing here is to be inspired, and that's all he wants to do. The whole chapter, the first chapter, is to really convince us to take bodhicitta, then you should take bodhicitta. This is the best thing you can ever do. And he says, once you take bodhicitta, then even if you fall asleep, or you're careless, or you're doing anything else, but the flow of merit is continuous. You are accumulating merit continuously. He says, read the sutra of requested by Subahu, or questions of Subahu, inquiries of Subahu. There, then the Tathagata teaches the merit of bodhicitta. So, and in the next stanza, this one, there is a story where 21st stanza. If with kindly generosity one merely has the wish to soothe the aching heads of other beings, such merit knows no bounds. Yeah. It's not a complete sentence, but it starts with if. So, Simjin Namji Lenism. So the story goes as again, please read Khenpo Kumpa's commentary or any other commentaries, where it talks about, I think, one of the previous life of Siddhartha Gautama, where he was born as a son to a captain, a sea captain, and that he never got to see. Sea captain named girl. He was named girl because all the child that was born before him died, and so when he was born, as astrologers said, that these parents, they don't have any merit to have any son. So if they name the boy girl, give a female name, he might live. So they did that, and he lived. But from a young age, his father died in the sea, perished in the sea, and his mother, afraid that he might also follow the same fate, she kept it a secret from him. And she told him, oh, we are incense seller. That's what we are. Your father is an incense seller. That's what you should be. And he did exactly that. As he grew up, he became an incense seller. He became very successful. And every day he would offer a lot of his profit to his mother. He would give it to his mother. And one day, other incense seller, they could take it no longer, and they told him that, what are you doing? This is a menial work. You are a sea, you belong to a sea captain sort of race, You should be a sea captain. And coaxed by them, he really gets encouraged, and he goes to his mother and insists he wants to be a sea captain, and then she begs him not to go, and he still wants to go, and he arranges a big ship, and there's 500 men ready to go with him for some reason. And then on the auspicious day of his journey as a sea captain, how to say, his mother sort of tries to stop him, and when he wouldn't listen, she holds on to his feet, his legs, and then he sort of kicks her, getting angry. For momentary anger, he kicks her, and then he leaves. And then his ship gets wrecked in the middle of the ocean, but he survives on a wooden plank, and it gets carried to a land where there was nothing else but a beautiful palace. He goes into the palace and there are two beautiful women inside. And he asks them, like, who are you? Who does this place belong to? And they tell him, it's yours. This place belongs to you. And so he lives with these two beautiful women for 200 years. But they keep telling him to not to go to one particular direction. I think north or something. Don't never go to north. You can go anywhere on this island, but not there. So one day, after 200 years, he becomes, his curiosity could not be rested, and so he goes in that direction and finds even a bigger palace with more ladies. And like this, they keep telling him not to go, but he does. And then he finds better and better and better place. And finally, he reaches a place where nothing grew. Everything was dead. No grass, no tree, but a metal house with no windows. And when he entered the house, the door closed, and that was it. It was not discernible where was the door. And an inner door opened, and he went in, and there he finds someone who had a wheel, very pointy sort of metal wheel, sort of circling on the top of his head and going through immense pain. And he understands that up until now, all the good things have happened to me because I was very, thankful to my mother, and I made offerings to her. And now this is happening because of my act of anger that I hit her on her head. And the wheel begins to, it shifts from the head of this being to his head. And the moment it touched, it was so painful. And he thought, just like this person, just like me, there may be countless of beings in this world, sons and daughters that have mistreated their parents and are going through such suffering. So may all of their suffering of severe sort of pain in their head cease. May it never happen. May this be enough, what I'm going through. And as soon as he thought that, he died. His merit was, just this thought freed him from hundreds and thousands of years of suffering in a moment. So that's what it means. Even with just a thought that may I remove the pain, severe pain in sentient beings, their head, in their brain, as soon as he thought that it generates so much merit that it released him from this ephemeral hell, then of course to say I will liberate beings from all kind of suffering and place them on immense meritorious conditions, like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Arhats and Pratyeka Buddhas. What need is there to speak of such a person and their merit? What need is there to speak of the merit that is generated through such a motivation, such a mindset, he says. And no one has that. You may be loved by your parents, but they have never had such an idea, he says. Unless they were taught, unless they were Mahayana practitioners, they had never had such an idea that you should become completely awakened. None of your friends ever had such an idea. You may have had gods and deities following you for lifetimes and lifetimes and helping you and protecting you from all kinds of danger, but they also have never had such an idea that they will make you Buddha, fully awakened. Even Brahma, he says. No one, even myself, I have never had such idea, even in my dream, that I will become Buddha. I will become fully awakened for the sake of sentient beings, and so on. So please read this chapter. It's really so inspiring. If this chapter does not inspire you, well, I mean, that's not good. It's, it's really not good. This is really good. Uh, so, to take bodhicitta, it's so easy to take bodhicitta, you know. To be a monk is so difficult. I was a monk 10 years. I was really not that a good monk, so it was not that difficult for me, but still, there are 252 vows you have to keep. 252 from day one, from the first moment you take monk's vow, you have to keep all of them. Nun's vow, same, 200 something something. You have to keep all of them. Okay, novice monk's vow maybe less than that, but still, it's a lot. Can't do this, can't say that, can't. You know, a monk or a nun shouldn't even smile like this. Like, they're not allowed to do that. You have to hide your smile. You know, this, if you go through each of the rules and you have to follow them from day one, from the moment you take it, you have to follow all of them, or you have to make purifications. And if you lose the vow, you can, that's it, you can never be a monk again or a nun again. If you give it back, you can be monk or nun maybe 3 times in your life, like that. Like some say 7 times. That is so limited. Here, you can lose this vow every moment and you can take it again. You take this vow, now what do I do? Oh, if you sometimes make some flower offering, sometimes help feed the hungry, sometimes just if you cannot do anything, throw a handful of sugar to a near an ant hill. You know, if you cannot do anything, just go to places where there's the water pockets and pick up the insects that are fall into the, that's it. That's how that all of this is part. Even that, if you cannot do, if you're that much of how to say, even that you cannot do. And if you just look at Buddha's statue or painting, if you just think of it for a moment with the joy in your mind, gratitude, thankfulness, love towards this being, that's it. That is the practice of Bodhisattva. It's really not difficult. And to lose the vow is also very difficult because, like I said, like a monk's, nun's vow, or if you steal, you lose it. If you have sex, you lose it. If you kill, you lose. There's so many ways of losing them. Here, the only way you can lose this vow is if you think, if you let go of beings. You know, if you look at someone and think, may that person never become Buddha, or I don't care about the future of this person. I don't care if that person become Buddha or not. If you do that, then you lose the vow. In this tradition, the tradition of Manjushri is like that. Shantideva received it from Manjushri, and it comes down, it's trickled down to our teacher, and then to us. Whereas the merit of this vow, to be a million times a monk and a nun, and then be Bodhisattva one time, this is far more meritorious. Just read any Mahayana Sutra, just read any sutra, it's just there, it has always been there, it was never a secret. So yes, please do that. All right, do you have questions or concerns you can raise? Thank you very much. Or if you are shy, you can type it into the chat. Yes, Effie.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you so much. I have a question related to the stanza which which likens the darkness of night, a very dark night, and a sudden flash of lightning which illuminates everything. So if someone has a very heavy karma and is, which results in a lot of obscurations and negativity and all that, how feasible is this wish to benefit others when we're like that?
Oh, even more so then it's important to wish benefit to others. Bodhisattva path is really, it's a ridiculous path, to be honest. If you, Shantideva himself said that. He says, you, while you yourself are full of afflictions, you say, while you are full of attachment, desire, anger, and so on, completely ignorant being, and then you say things like, I will liberate all beings. You must be crazy, he said. Mawa Jitarnyamba means, how are you not a crazy person to say such a thing? And he's praising you, by the way, when he's doing that. It sounds like he's criticizing, but he's actually praising you. So this is really how it is. Mind, the ability of our mind is so vast. It's so vast. But, it's like when the mind suffers in dream. When we are dreaming, the mind suffers like a nightmare. All the while, the nightmare is nothing but created by the mind itself. And so it's actually very strong. It's powerful. It's the most powerful there is in the nightmare. But it does not realize that. And so it suffers like a victim. Similarly, in this right now, our mind is the most powerful thing that ever has existed and will ever exist. But it does not know of its own strength. And so it suffers. So here, mind that is completely obscured with trauma, attachment, like bad habits or whatever, like a low self-esteem or however it is, that's when you actually need bodhicitta. To be honest, you will find that those who are unhappy, dare I even say, suffering from depression even, are those these things happen to us when we focus on ourselves, our life, our job, our family, our condition, my suffering, my trauma. This is most of us. Whereas if you look at someone who really makes such aspirations every day, they don't seem to go through such things. So, yeah. It is like that.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Welcome. Who else? I may not know the answer, but
Rinpoche,
Mm-hmm.
we're having a question in the chat that is in Russian. 4 years ago, I became a Buddhist, and then I took a Bodhisattva vow. I was very much inspired by the practice, and then awful crisis appeared, and it became impossible to practice. The aggression surfaced. Okay, and then I think Marina, I think we're waiting for the question. Yeah, here we go. During shamatha, I just experienced switching off of consciousness. So I'm reading while it's Marina prints. So just a second. I just don't understand what's going on.
Does this switching off of consciousness, does it happen again and again?
Марина, вот это отключение сознания происходит системно? Ну, то есть это не один раз случилось? But yeah, this happens constantly, Marina says.
When she's meditating?
Yes, when she does shamatha.
Can she describe how does consciousness switches off?
She says like 5 minutes into practice and she's just fainting.
Then don't do shamatha. There are hundreds of ways of awakening, you know, not just shamatha. And also, sometimes shamatha makes your suffering more visible. Can she do this, bodhicitta?
Marina clarifies that she it's not like fainting per se. It's like slipping into dream, into sleep stage.
Where then afterwards she has no recollection of what happened. Is that it?
She says she's doing sadhana of medicine Buddha.
That's when it happens.
Well, she just says like it switches off and switching on, and she's like as far as I understand, it's a floating of attention. So it's like dissipating of attention, of focus.
That's all right. But the way she describes initially, switching off of consciousness, that sounds like yeah, we try not to do that usually when we practice. That sounds like she's practicing and then time goes by and she just sort of wakes up and she has no idea what happened right now, just now.
Just a second, I'll just translate it to Marina. Rinpoche, maybe it makes more sense for you and Marina, if possible, if she can address you personally on that, because it sounds like it would make maybe more sense to if she writes to you afterwards. Can she do that? I mean, is it? Would you permit it?
Yeah, why not?
Because she says like she's not feeling comfortable to discuss it more explicitly in front of the entire present people. Yeah.
That's true. Who?
Yeah, she says like she just can't. She has nobody to talk to about it.
Well, okay. Me too. I don't know anything about meditation and these kind of things, you know. So it's difficult to really, because meditative experiences are very sometimes very individual. And once a guy came to me and said, when I meditate, after a while, half of my body vanishes, you know. Oh, I don't know what to say. You know, it's like, who am I to judge? But if this, what she's saying, if she thinks it's a trouble, it's not good, then we can talk about it.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. I will translate now what you said and forward and match you and Marina afterwards, after the session is over.
Great.
So I'm back to Russian channel.
All right. I think that's it, Ariadne. What do you think? It's all right. You're in Greek channel. Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm in the English channel. Can you hear me, Ariadne? I think she can hear me.
Rinpoche, did you listen what I just said before?
No.
Excuse me. I said thank you so much for this session, and then we will distribute the text in Greek for people who want to read it in Greek, and then we meet next month, hopefully. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Let's do that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Please dedicate the merit
Yeah, thank you.
Of having gathered here, spent your precious time thinking about bodhicitta, talking about bodhicitta. We have taken names of Siddhartha Gautama, Shantideva, Manjushri. These are illustrious beings. These are we have accumulated so much merit in just 1.5 hours. So please dedicate those merit for the liberation of sentient beings, all sentient beings, for the longevity of Buddha Dharma, spread of Buddha Dharma into the hearts and minds of sentient beings in all directions, longevity of Dharma holders, not only Dharma holders, those who are honest, sincere, kind, who bring joy, laughter, happiness, contentment, order, peace into beings' lives. These kind of people should also live long. And of course, for the cessation of war and famine and untimely death and sicknesses and all sufferings of sentient beings should cease from their cause. Sonamdi, Tanjasibu, Tanajibita. Jagana Jibalan Truba, Sibusalan Don Dover Show. Chanju Simjo Rambaji Majibanam Chebaba, Jabanaba Meba and Komi Kondo Pelvar Show, Jumble Boy, Jambana, Kuduzambo, this. Tida Kunji Jesu Dalab Jergawa, the Datam Jarabdo, Duzumjibi, Jawatam Jingo, Chotonga, the Tagi Gavits, our Digunja Sambuju, Jarabdo over achieve. May I, in all my lives, carry far the weight of Buddha Dharma, and if I am not capable to do so, may I always be worried about the longevity of Dharma. All right. Have a good evening, or whatever you're having. Take care.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Namaste, Rinpoche. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Arya.
Счастливо, ребят.